The story of a block that was disappearing.
General, call me Joe.
We are here on day, I have no idea, Crazy Rich Asians.
Director John Chu has enjoyed his fair share of box office success working with some of the biggest names in Hollywood.
I didn't want to be seen as an Asian American director or as an Asian director. I just want to be seen as a director.
Before making blockbusters, John Chu grew up near Silicon Valley, where his family has owned a Chinese restaurant for over 50 years.
I would come home from school and I would go straight to the restaurant, do my homework by the bar.
Even at a young age, Chu was drawn to the creativity of film.
I get thrown all the stuff to carry around on a vacation, and I was in charge of the camera, so I started shooting our family on these vacations.
It took some convincing for Chu's parents to believe he could actually make a living behind the camera.
I said, this is something I love. You always told me America's the greatest place. If you love what you do and work hard, you can do anything.
Hollywood came calling after a lucky break in film school.
I made a couple short films that got attention, and they were all musicals. And one of them, Steven Spielberg saw. And I don't know how he saw it.
But success was an instant for Chu. He made big-budget action movies, but not all his films were hits.
I went through other periods in my life and my career that were a lot harder. I made a movie just 4 or 5 years ago that I think was one of the lowest opening movies of all time.
Disappointment didn't stop him from taking risks on the big screen, directing the first Hollywood film featuring an entirely Asian cast for the first time in 25 years.
Now, were you surprised by the success of Crazy Rich Asians?
It was definitely not a guarantee when we started that movie, but I did not understand that once we showed it, the amount of emotions that would come out of people in the audience.
With the global box office success of Crazy Rich Asians, Chu believes the door is opening for more roles and opportunities for Asian talents.
And what about typecasting in Hollywood? Do you think with Crazy Rich Asians that's ended, so you can be the leading man, you don't have to know kung fu?
I don't know if it's ended. I wouldn't say it's that clear-cut yet, but I do think there was an awareness.
Let's go!
Critics have described Chu's style of storytelling as a celebration of culture. His next film, In the Heights, opens in June with a mostly Latin cast.
He's managed to infuse his films with something that's so authentic and yet is just embraceable by virtually everyone.
But for Hollywood to change, Chu thinks you have to empower people to think beyond limits.
I need to dream bigger, not just for myself, but I need to dream bigger to show that the next group that comes, that you're allowed to dream that big, that you're allowed to be a mogul, you're allowed to be a Walt Disney, you're allowed to be all these things that we already have icons for, but in your image.
So his advice for those that have dreams to direct one day, he says, write it down. Take the first steps if you're even thinking about making a movie. He says most of the time stories don't get told because that first step isn't even taken. And he says, of course, stay naive.
That is such great advice. Susan, the first time I saw Crazy Rich Asians was, I was on a flight. I was sitting in the middle seat.
Yeah.
And I was bawling by the end of it. You know, the people around me were probably like, what is wrong with this girl? But it's such a great movie. I can't believe
So
he didn't know that it was going to be
colorful,
an
so fun.
automatic success. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. All right, great job. Love that. Thank you so much, Susan.